Hello and welcome to this little Spalluccipedia video. Another dive into the world of Spallucciverse, the world of Sam Spallucci. Surprise, surprise. And today we're going to have a look somewhere in Lancaster which is really important to Sam. That's Dalton Square. Dalton Square was originally the site of a Dominican friary. And as far as we can tell, it suffered the fate of many of these sorts of institutions in the dissolution of the monasteries in the 1500s. Now, just behind me, you can see on my shoulder, that is Solyard Street. And when there were excavations and building works going on in the 1800s, they actually found remains of the friary, which is underneath Wesley House, which is stood behind me right now. After the friary went, as was the case with lots of these old buildings and lands, they were sold off by the Crown and they stayed in private hands until it became part of the manifest part of the workings of the whole Lancaster Corporation. And then they decided, well, we really need to do something with it. We need to do something with this land. Lancaster was expanding. So in the 1800s, plans were drawn up for Dalton Square. The idea was to have some gardens, some houses and the like. Nothing ever actually came of this until the early 1900s, when along came Lord Ashton. Until the late 1800s, the sort of centre of government in Lancaster was actually Market Square in the old town hall, which had been part market, part ramshackle building, and perfectly it's been cobbled together a bit. And when James Williamson became Lord Ashton, one of the things he said was, well, we need a better building. We need something to really stamp Lancaster on the mark. So at the same time that the Ashton Memorial was being built up in Williamson Park, he decided we ought to have this big fella right behind us. And this is the current town hall. There we go. A little bit of lens flare there. Yeah, Abrams would be proud, I suppose. And as you can see, it is a marvellous thing. You've got the clock tower, you've got the portico over it, and also like just wonderful Edwardian gloriousness. And to go with it, he decided, well, we need to commemorate Queen Victoria. So, as she recently passed away, the statue was built just there, and that's right in the middle of Dalton Square. And it's referred to quite a few times in Sam's books. As you can see, we've got, again, all like the copper work and statuary around the sides of it. As well as being slightly central government, Dalton Square, it was decided, well, we need a bit of greenery as well, even though you can hear all the cars in the background. So as you can see, we've got these lovely sort of like gardens. I'm filming this actually in the middle of February, so not much going on in the way of flowers, but trust me, when it reaches summer, absolutely gorgeous. A lovely place to come and sit, a little bit of a haven in the middle of the city. Now, obviously, it'd be very remiss of me if I came to Dalton Square and not mention a certain building, and that is 15A Dalton Square. In other words, the office and flat of Sam himself. As you can see behind me, we've got a little Chinese restaurant there called Fortune Star. Been dining there for many, many years. Believe it or not, when my hair was not white, you know, and it's lovely. I know that like the current owner, at time speaking, is looking to retire, so I'll have to see what happens in the future, but I highly recommend it at the moment. And then we have the 2 floors above it. The first floor, Sam's offices, and then the floor above, just there you can see, that would be Sam's flat. Now, as it happens, they're technically not 15 Dalton Square. 15 Dalton Square is actually the building next to it. But hey ho, I decided to have a little play around with numbers, and Sam's residence was born, his office was born, and the parish. Now, possibly the most notorious building in Dalton Square has to be this inconspicuous affair behind me. And this was the home of a doctor known as Ruxton, a name which is used to make children in Lancaster cower in their beds at night. He was infamous. Basically, Dr. Ruxton was a well-known and well-loved local doctor. It's known that before the NHS and all that sort of business came in, he, gave his medicines out to the poor, and was well regarded by many, many people. Unfortunately, his wife had a bit of a roving eye, and he found out that she'd been having an affair, and basically, that sounds like he was the last person to know. In a fit of passion, he killed her. And if it'd just been the wife, he probably would have got away with a life sentence, but unfortunately he was caught by the maid, so he killed her too, and that meant that he was hanged. One of the earliest cases of sort of like forensics using print and newspaper, because basically he drove up to the lakes, I think it was, or drove up further north and took the dismembered bodies, wrapped them up in a newspaper and dumped them in a lake. And then the parts were found and the newspaper was traced back to him. So yeah, 1, don't kill in cold passion. 2, don't kill the maid. And 3, don't wrap them up in your local newspaper. Final building I just want to have a quick mention. How could I miss this one out? This is the Borough. Now the Borough is the pub in Sam's world where he and indeed Spliff sit in the corner and have their little drink. Now if you can see, it's the window with the red curtains just behind the blue sort of umbrella there just over my shoulder. That is their window. That is where they normally sit. Currently closed at the moment, unfortunately, because we are sort of like mid-pandemic and all those sorts of establishments are closed. Unfortunately, I can't take you in, but hopefully perhaps in another little video, perhaps in a later date. The Borough has been there a long time. It has changed hands a few times, and so it's sort of like ended up in its guise now as the Borough. Again, highly recommended. They used to brew their own beers. I don't think they do at the moment, but I know they do have a lovely range of whiskers, so yeah. Ever in Lancaster, it's worth dropping in. I hope you enjoyed that, and I'll see you again soon.